This is Real Deal Sports Talk with KB, October 16th, 2018.
Mr. Green.
I'm found to be the nicest. On the mic it with rhyme writing. My mind states gone cipher, divine righteous. This is the sound of refinement. Extra time spent on every line written. You can hear the difference when I'm rhyming. The barbarian rap writings like Clash of the Titans. I wield the pen like Poseidon holding the golden triton. On the mic I strike faster than vipers and flashes of bolts of lightning. My poetry will leave the Pope enlightened. Whack rappers is past time, you paid the Pied Piper. As the price just skyrocket, I stand to make a profit. I rap circles and spirals above your favorite artist, like an identifiable flying object with balls so far over your head. I'm honest to be rhyming in high orbit. If I dumb the metaphors down, you think the sky was falling. Rappers' arms too short to shadow box with the lords in the pantheon of rap. I'm the high exalted, the new God flow. Prepare your offering. I treat the booth like the synagogue, cause the mic's my calling.
And welcome into Real Deal Sports Talk with KP. It is October 16th, 2018. Thank you for joining us today. We are glad to have you. It is Tuesday. Everybody's work week should be going off well. We got a lot of new things going on right now. NHL started up last week, or a week and a half ago now. NBA's kicking off tonight. We got 2 games tonight, 4 teams in action. We got the Week 6 NFL scores to go over today, plus some other little storylines that are out there that I'm going to be talking about while we have time with each other today. I'm going to start with the Week 6 scores because there's some of these storylines in the NFL that I want to talk about, some stuff that has happened this past week and or is continuing to happen. Major League Baseball playoffs are going on, so we got to get to that. NBA, NHL, I talked about. New fantasy league that we're going to talk about that I'm participating in this season. But Week 6 NFL scores. I didn't do very good on my picks. I think I got a total of 9 or 10 games correct this week out of the 15 games that there were. So, not great, not bad. Lions and Saints were off this week. Eagles beat up on the Giants 34-13. The Giants just looked pitiful on all facets. Olivier Vernon, they finally decided, hey, we're going to stop having you play outside linebacker. They let him just be a pass rusher for a majority of that game. He did have a few snaps as he was coming back from injury, but he looked impressive. He looked like a stud. He looked like what they drafted him to be. So that was a positive. Landon Collins, positive. Saquon Barkley, positive. Can we find another positive? I know Giants fans that I work with, that are my friends, they've given up on the season. I got into it and debated a little bit with a Giants fan on Twitter today. He is of the opinion that giving a mobile quarterback to this offense will fix everything and that Nate Solder's playing well. Nate Solder's not playing well. Nate Solder has not been worth the $15 million a year that the Giants signed him to in the offseason. He's getting beat regularly. He's getting beat with power moves just like he did in New England, and he's not living up to the contract. He's not solidifying the left side of the line like even I thought he would, next to Will Hernandez, the rookie. Some of that goes to play calling. Some of that goes to overall execution. It doesn't all go to the quarterback. That's one thing I'm so sick of right now, is not only do the quarterbacks get all of the praise when teams are doing successful and winning championships. It's look how great the quarterback is. But now we're in this position where if the team sucks and the team is playing bad from top to bottom, from the coaching staff to the players to the execution to the play calling, we still put all of that on the quarterback as if he's the ipso facto dictator of a football team, or if this isn't the ultimate team sport. Eagles have a lot of holes. They did not look good. They don't look good. Buccaneers go in and lose to the Falcons, 29-34. The Falcons are putting up some points. They lose Calvin Ridley partway through that game with an ankle injury, however, so we'll have to see how that turns out. And they announced today that Dante Freeman will be out for the rest of the year with a groin injury. Washington gets over on the Panthers as the Panthers just are not getting it together on offense. I had high hopes for Norv Turner as the offensive coordinator, but it's starting to seem like maybe his time has passed. Seattle drums the Raiders, who quite possibly are the worst team in the NFL. They go over to England and just get whooped up all over the place by the Seahawks, 27-3. The Jets put on a scoring explosion against the Colts and win 42-34. The Vikings beat the Cardinals 27-17. That's another team right there, the Cardinals, that they are, right now auditioning for that number 1 pick in the draft next year. With the Raiders, they are bad. They're talking about now maybe going to a college-type system to make it easier. Well, you should have known hiring Mike McCoy was the wrong way to go. With what he did in Denver, with what he tried to accomplish there, with what everybody talked about his playbook and the way that it was working and what he was doing, to then bring him in to be your offensive coordinator when you're going to have a young team, a young quarterback, a running back coming off of injury, it wasn't the right way to go. Mike McCoy is the type of coach that you're going to run his system. He's not going to develop a system that takes advantage of your skill set. We've now seen that multiple times. When he was with Peyton Manning, it was Peyton Manning's offense. When he got Tim Tebow to work, they dumbed that offense way down and only ran the ball and very rarely threw it. Because they had to. Steelers get over on the Bengals in a great last-second drive by Big Ben, Antonio Brown on that long touchdown with 15 seconds left, and they get the 2-point conversion to go up 28-21 with just a couple clicks left on the clock. L.A. gets all over the Browns, sacking Baker Mayfield, I think 5 or 6 times in that game, beating them, that team up. The Browns defense did not have an answer for the Chargers. Chargers win 38-14. The Texans get past the lowly Bills 20-13. The Dolphins shock the Bears and the world with a 31-28 victory over the Bears in Miami. The Dolphins starting Brock Osweiler, Tannehill's shoulder injury just before the game is announced. Brock Osweiler is going to start. He ends up going for 380, couple touchdowns, beats the Bears again. Drake fumbles at the end of regulation. Chicago misses a kick. Miami pulls out the victory in overtime, 31-28. Nobody except Dolphins fans, I'm sure, had that one coming this weekend. The Broncos compete against another good team like they did against the Chiefs, but fall short again, 23-22 the Rams. The Ravens go into Tennessee. They sack Mariota 11 times. They win 21-0. Titans had no offense. Defense spends the whole time on the field. Ravens come out with a victory. The Cowboys, Jaguars defense has given up. We're going to talk about them in a minute. The Cowboys go on an offensive explosion that no Cowboys fan will ever let any of us forget for the rest of this season or probably next season, as they beat the best defense in the NFL 40-7. Jaguars have no offense. Leonard Fournette, the running game is dead because he's out and injured. Yeldon's not picking up. They have no weapons on the outside. Bortles is still garbage. And we'll talk about that defense here in a few minutes. Patriots in the big boy game, they get over on the Chiefs 43-40 to let everybody know, look, we're still the Patriots. Slow your roll on all these teams coming up. Slow your roll on our slow start for the season. We're still the Patriots. We're still going to do our thing. We took the team that everybody thinks is going to win the Super Bowl, and we beat them. Now, did they score 40 points? Sure. Did Tom Brady have to do end of the game drive to win it? Yes. But a win's a win. Nobody's looking back on this at the end of the season and going, wow, you know what? The Chiefs were close there. No. It'll be, if the Chiefs would have beat the Patriots, then home field advantage would have gone through Arrowhead as opposed to Foxborough. That's what we're going to get out of this game. Great game, quite possibly the AFC Championship game down the line. And then the Packers last night with Aaron frickin' Rodgers, they go on a game-winning drive and beat the 49ers 33-30 when with just 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, the 49ers had a 7-point lead. They were up by a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers puts them on a drive. They get the score. They get the ball back. And from zero to hero, in one week to another, Mason Crosby, Last week against the Lions, they lose because he misses 4 field goals and a PAT, leaving 13 points out there on the field. They lose by 8. Some people are like, oh, he's a kicker, we're going to cut him. Other people are like, hey, let's give him a chance. He's our guy, he's solid. Aaron Rodgers, giving him words of encouragement. And look, I followed Mason Crosby since he was at CU. I wanted the Lions to draft him when he came out in the draft so we could go from Jason Hanson to Mason Crosby. We ended up with Matt Prater about a season later, so everything's worked out so far there. But it just goes to show you, when you're a good kicker, and sometimes even if you're a bad kicker, you're going to have off weeks. And that's what Mason Crosby did. He had a bad week last week. It just wasn't working. He was trying to correct it. He was in his head. They got him that field goal late last week to try and, give him some confidence, make him feel good, get one through the uprights. He comes in this week, he makes 7 kicks with extra points and field goals and the game-winning field goal as time expires. You can't ask for more than that. Now, if he comes out this week and bombs again, 1 for 5 field goals, misses an extra point, okay, you got to consider probably get rid of him. But he's one of the all-time greats. Everybody knew he wasn't coming out, and I'm happy for him. He may be a Packer, I may be a Lions fan, but I'm happy for Mason Crosby. He deserved to come out and have his redemption week this week. Have that game-winning field goal. And once again, let everybody know that, yes, I am one of the top kickers in the NFL. Great week for them. Great week for the Packers. I can't imagine how good it feels for Mason Crosby right now. One thing I want to talk about is Eli Manning. I talked about it a little bit just a minute ago when I was saying that I got a buddy that I work with. He's a big Giants fan, always been a Giants fan. And this has been one of the hardest years for him to be a Giants fan. And he's, he didn't finish the game on Thursday night. He turned it off before it was over. And, he's considering, let's start looking at the draft. He's sounding like a Lions fan, like a Browns fan, like some of these teams that, partway through the season, we know, okay, the season's up. There's no hope right now. Let's start looking for what else is out there. But what I notice in the difference in these fan bases is that fan bases that aren't used to it, they don't know how to handle it. So they're picking out things to just be critical about players. Not stuff that affects the game, but like Eli. Eli's not a scrambler, never been a scrambler, never been the most athletic guy, never been the most emotional player out there on the field. But he's always been clutch. He's always been that guy that if you get him to the playoffs, he'll make the play or he'll make something happen that gets you a W. And what I'm seeing out of Eli, and I've defended Eli, I've defended him, I've said people are wrong, but watching that game Thursday night, it finally hit me. As long as Eli's been in the league, he's gotten to the point now that he's shell-shocked. He's not taking the snap and reading the field after the snap and going, where's my reads? What I see from Eli is he's taking the snap and trying to see where the breakdown in his offensive line is. And the breakdowns have come in the running game. They've come in the passing game. And the idea that if you all of a sudden sign a guy like Kaepernick, who I think should be in the NFL right now, this week, that he's going to somehow turn your season around or offer you something this season when you're now going to create a new playbook, you're going to have a different offensive philosophy than what you had the whole offseason, is just silly. Is he going to give you a spark in the sense that you'll be running some different plays? Sure. Is he going to give you a spark in the sense that the fan base is going to be energized and buy jerseys and get excited that you have this running quarterback with Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley? Of course. Will it even give some of the players on the team right now some relief and superficial ideas that they're going to be better? Maybe. But you're not going to go from 1-5 to 11-5, win the East, be in the playoffs, and have all this dominance if you make a quarterback change. Like I said, Nate Soldier, who they brought over from New England, if you watch that game Thursday night, all he did was get beat. He looked like Garrett Bowles from the Broncos out there playing left tackle. And he's getting paid $15 million a year. You can't get beat like that when you make that much money. When your agent sold you as one of the top tackles or the top tackle in the NFL. They wanted you to come in and solidify that spot that Eric Flowers had been in, that had been struggling, hoping that they could then work something together on the right side. So could you bring a scrambling quarterback in? Sure. But guess what he's going to spend the whole time doing? Scrambling, running. Because that offensive line all of a sudden isn't going to start blocking better. They're not going to get into better pass sets. They're not going to get a better first punch because your quarterback can run. These teams that are struggling right now have more holes than one player having a bad season or an off game. How about Mike Shula, the offensive coordinator? He may know football in and out. He's been around it his entire life. Longer than I've been alive, he's been involved in football. His family's been involved in football. That doesn't make him a good statistician. That does not make him a good play caller. That means when you sit down and talk to him about X's and O's, he's a smart guy. He's not calling good plays right now for them. Odell wants to play video game numbers and go deep all the time. Look, right now what you've been in the NFL is what Jarvis Landry's been in the NFL. You are an intermediate route guy. You are a hash to the sideline guy. You are a slant and go guy. Now Saquon, if that offensive line gets going, you start feeding Saquon right, maybe you get some play action plays where you can get 3 or 4 seconds and get a receiver far enough downfield to throw deeper routes. But the idea that he should be back there running around trying to give the receivers enough time to get deep to make a big play, this isn't Tecmo Bowl. You can't run 40 yards backwards and throw a 100-yard touchdown. So yes, is it time finally for Eli to go? I think so. I don't know if there's a team in the NFL that's going to be able to flip the switch on him being shell-shocked. Because the fact of the matter is, he can still make the throws. He can still read defenses. He still has 14 years of experience. But the hits add up. The lack of confidence in the rest of your team add up. The constant changing of offensive schemes over the last 5 years adds up. They're in their 3rd or 4th offensive scheme in the last 5-6 years. And he takes it in stride. He takes it with class. He's not out there bitching and complaining. He's not out there moaning and groaning. He is not clapping back at anybody on social media or through the media. So let's stop giving them all the praise when teams win. And let's stop acting like they're the evil dictator who ruins everything when the whole team is underperforming. Eli, you've had a great career. You've won 2 Super Bowls. You've been a good quarterback when nobody wants to give you credit. But the end is near. That is clear, especially in New York. Maybe Tom Coughlin gets you a shot down in Jacksonville because their quarterback situation is pure garbage. Moving on, the Emmanuel Sanders personal foul on Sunday against the Rams. So he catches the deep ball, 45 yards. Everybody thinks it's a touchdown. You go to replay. He was touched down at about the half-yard line. Now, before the replay, he had gotten up, done the finger wag in the defender's face, and said, "I got you." And, he might have said something else. He might have cussed. We don't know. What's been reported is that, from what he said, he got up, pointed at him, waved his finger, and said, "I got you. I got you on that play." Now, that to me, that's a very objective call for that referee to sit back and go personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct. When 4 or 5 times the rest of that game, Denver has a cornerback in Tremaine Brock who does the exact same thing, finger wagging every time he breaks up a pass or a receiver doesn't catch it in his coverage. Darius Slay has made the Mutombo finger wag in football his go-to thing after breaking up a pass. Going back all the way to Deion Sanders, when he did a finger wag after breaking up passes. That is not every time that's a personal foul. And I've had that expressed to me today. through another radio host here in Denver. I was talking to Darren McPhee, D-Mac, on 104.3 The Fan through Twitter. And D-Mac's a good guy. You gotta sense the humor and understand where he's coming from and what he's trying to say. And look, I don't completely disagree. Did he need to get up and do that? Was that necessary? No. Did he need to act like that and get in the guy's face after making a good play? No. Did it hurt the team? Yes, it ended up hurting the team. It ended up costing them 4 points, more than likely. Now, their red zone offense is kind of garbage, so who knows if they would have got it in or turned it over from the 1-yard line or not. What we do know is the penalty kicked them back, and they ended up kicking a field goal. So now let's be critical about it, because that's where we are as not only sports fans, but as a society. We can't look at the entirety of everything. We look at a piece of it, get critical, and then make somebody else try and feel bad or point out that they're wrong and we're right. Now, if there was some consistency that you're not allowed to do the finger wag, or that it wasn't just an objective call, that referee decided at that instant he didn't like it and thought it was unsportsmanlike, when they didn't think that the rest of the game, fine. Then that's the call. But that's not the call every time. That's not the call 100 times out of 100 times. That was the call in that instance. And then because something else didn't happen, we're now going to point it out as if, oh, look, here's the thing that cost us. No, that's not how it is. His comments, Emmanuel Sanders' comments, that he didn't think that should be a foul or that there was a foul for what he did, what's he supposed to do? Say, I knew it was going to be a foul and I did it anyway? No, he didn't think that was going to be a foul, because that's very common in the NFL for guys to make a catch or break up a pass and do the Mutombo finger wag. But it's another instance, just like with Eli, just like with Case Keenum when I talked about that situation last week. We're to this point that we just want to dog people out. Like, we want it to be our team to be the best thing ever, and we just destroy everybody. And when that doesn't happen, we're going to dog out individuals instead of, in the ultimate team game, noticing that the team is having issues. The play calling is having issues. I don't care how much any of you like Bill Musgrave. The plays that he is calling right now, the lack of adjustments for what this team does well, that he is doing right now, that Vance Joseph is allowing right now, is ridiculous. It's pure ridiculous. And it all comes back to who? Who created all of this situation for Denver? Who brought in the groceries that don't make a meal? John Elway. He's a horrible GM. He should not be a GM. He was not the GM when he was with the Colorado Crush, and that's where he got his clout to be in this position here, because that team won an AFL championship. Great. You're the head of football operations. But guess what? You're not going to be our GM. We can't have you as our GM because your draft picks are horrible. Your coaching signings are horrible. You're giving guys chances to do things that they don't deserve. Vance Joseph should not have been the hire. Getting rid of Wade Phillips should not have happened. Brock Osweiler, Monte Ball should not have been drafted in that class. Paxton Lynch should not have been drafted where he was drafted. Garrett Bowles should not have been the draft pick. Who else should we bring up that they should? Langley. DeMarcus Walker, you bring in a defensive end, you try and turn him into a linebacker, and now he can't even see the field? When he was a dominant defensive lineman in the college? When he led the nation in tackles for loss? And he can't see the field? Because he doesn't fit your system now. Not because he's not useful or doesn't have a skill set, but because he's not fitting the system that you want to run. See, this is what has made New England so good for so many years, is that their system is, we're going to use what you do best to make all of us better. So if you want to keep Elway around because he is the Broncos, because of the mystique he has, great. But you need to strip him of the GM title. His scouting department and all his little buddies in the scouting department, Matt Russell and all of them, they need to go. You need fresh blood in there because they're not getting it done. They're picking the wrong guys. You brought Kubiak back this year. Make him the GM. Because you can clearly see his influence on this year's draft. Bill Musgrave had, in my opinion, one really good season as an offensive coordinator with Derek Carr. He wasn't that great in Minnesota. Like, where is this? Again, he's like the Mike Shula type. You sit down and talk to him, so smart about football, so much X and O's knowledge. That does not make you a statistician. That does not make you a good play caller. Makes you a good piece of an offensive staff, but not the guy you want in charge of it. And who brought him in? Elway. Who brought in the defensive staff? Elway. Elway let Wade Phillips go. He didn't want to give him $2.5 million. He had other plans. Well, now you're in the spot that this coaching staff is no good. The players are not getting it done with all the talent you have. And to me, anytime you got a team with this much talent on it and it's not getting done, that goes to scheme, that goes to coaching. Unless you look at a team like, the Jaguars defense. Because that's not scheme or coaching. That's a defense that is given up. They have quit. It is embarrassing. They are not flying around with the same force and ferocity they did last year. They have given up because, in my opinion, that offense is not giving them anything. So they're not out there playing hard. They look like the Broncos defense from last year that gave up halfway through the season and was sick of playing for an offense that wasn't getting it done. Except the Jags are only 6 games in. They haven't dealt with it for a season and a half. 2.5 seasons. They're 6 games in. And those young bucks over there with all that talent have quit. They're still going to run their mouth. We're the best. We're the most talented. But there's no production. Because they're not out there playing as hard as they did last year when they had that running game, when the offense was helping them out. Which surprises me. I would have expected a guy like Calais Campbell to be like, no, this is not how we're going to do it. We have too much talent. I have too much pride to let this happen. Jaguars aren't overrated. They're underperforming. They're not willing to be the Ravens or the Broncos who carried their teams with defense. The Broncos with Peyton Manning, who had the lowest output from offense in Super Bowl history for a champion. The Ravens, who had Trent Dilfer. The Buccaneers with Brad Johnson. Teams that were carried by their defense. The Jaguars are not willing to do that on the defensive side of the ball, and those coaches down there are not getting them to produce. And again, it all flows downhill. It comes from the top. Your top guy down there, Tom Coughlin, he's not getting it done. Like, if we're going to call players out, let's call out everybody who's not getting it done. Every player, every coach, every GM, every football. Because this is the ultimate team game. I will say that until I'm blue in the face. The teams that have it going strong right now, they have it solid from top to bottom. The Rams, solid top to bottom. The Chiefs, solid top to bottom. The Patriots, solid top to bottom. The Ravens, solid top to bottom. Not the best or most talented team, but solid top to bottom, getting results. Philadelphia, solid top to bottom. It's not hard to see what these other teams are doing. They have it solid top to bottom, and it's not just about the players and execution and, they should be doing better here or there. No, it's look at how good their play calling is. Look at how in tuned everybody is. Look at the brotherhood they have going. Look how tight the locker room is. Look at this young GM getting it done. Look at how Robert Kraft gives everything to the players. Look at how they're basically a big family. They're pulling for each other. They're working together. You don't think the Chiefs would like their defense to be playing a little bit better? To not give up 43 points? So when they score 40, they could win? Yeah, but are they going to get down on it? No. Because they're solid top to bottom. They have good coaching. They have coaches that get it. You look at a team like the Raiders right now, who knows what's going on with that team? They're garbage. And I'll be honest, I was one of the first ones to go, this could be very interesting bringing Gruden back. Teaming him with Derek Carr. Teaming him with some of this young talent that he has spent so much time watching tape on, studying. And being able to come back in now and coach and get it done. They can't get Mac to sign. They trade him away for 2 first-round picks. Who knows what comes of that? Building for Vegas, we'll call it. Carl Joseph, first-round pick last year, on the trading block. Mari Cooper, supposedly on the trading block if you can get a first-round pick. Derek Carr, not working out. What do you have, 130 passing yards this weekend? From the offensive mastermind that is John Gruden? What John Gruden is coming across as a coach, having ultimate power within an organization, is power hungry. He's a control freak. He might even be a little OCD. But he's not getting it done as a coach. And they're stuck with him for 10 years. Guaranteed money. $100 million. Reggie McKenzie was getting that roster turned around. 8 months of John Gruden, and it's been blown up and shredded. You got players talking about, and I'm paraphrasing here, it doesn't matter. I got a beautiful woman at home. I'm going to go get some, and we going to make babies. That's your focus when you're 1-5? You're not upset at all? Culture's gone. Raider Nation, I'm sorry. You better hope by 2020 all these draft picks that they're going to start picking up for your best players pan out, because I'm sorry. I have not been impressed with Gruden. I have not been impressed with the offense he's tried to instill or any of the moves that he's made. They cut Derek Johnson today, who they brought in the offseason from Kansas City to play linebacker for him. I guess it took 6 games to figure out that, yes, Derek's old. The knee injuries caught up to him. But yeah, they're blowing things up in Oakland. And the only thing we can say is they're getting ready for Vegas. They must be getting ready for Vegas. He must be trying to form the team in his image. What's his image? We've always been told that John Gruden's image is he likes veterans. So they have one of the older teams in the league right now. Why isn't he getting it done? You have one of the young quarterbacks who is up and coming and supposed to be great. One really good year with Bill Musgrave, and then that got torn up. But it's garbage. There's so much garbage right now. Bad coaching, bad playing, bad execution. People wanting to be brands and not teammates. The business side is killing football in the NFL. Just killing it. We'll talk about it throughout the season because it's becoming hard to watch. And it's going to be something that we can continue to point out examples of. And there's a lot of good stories. We're going to hit the James Conner stories throughout the season. We're going to hit, some of the young rookies like DJ Ward in Cleveland that are doing good things, and Baker Mayfield. Josh Allen's going to miss some time now there in Buffalo. We'll hit on the good stories too. But when stuff's just wrong and people are seeing it from some kind of rose-colored glasses where they're just not seeing it correct, I'm going to talk about that too. Let's be real about what's going on. It's not one player. It's not one coach. It's a whole system when we want to break down what's going on with these teams. And when one guy has all the power like Gruden, it's real easy to screw up a system, I'll tell you what. All right, Major League Baseball playoffs. We're in the championship series for the American League and the National League. Milwaukee is up in their series against the Dodgers, 2-1. They will start here in about an hour and a half local time here in Denver. Boston is taking on Houston in Game 3 of their series right now. Bottom 6, Boston is currently up 3-2. Winners of these two series will go on to the World Series. The World Series is scheduled to start, I believe. Let me check that out before I say anything concrete. Yeah, Tuesday, October 23rd. So a week from today, the World Series is scheduled to start. Can't wait. Great time of year for baseball. I will continue to say that to all my listeners as well. If you're not a big baseball fan, playoff baseball is the time to watch. It's the time to check in. It's the time to see what's going on. Are we going to see another Astros-Dodgers rematch? Quite possibly. The Astros are looking really good. I know they're down right now, and if they lose tonight, they'll be down 2-1 to the Red Sox. And if the Dodgers lose tonight, they'll be down 3-1 to Milwaukee. But LA was able to get one in Milwaukee. They're only down 2-1, I believe, right now. What was that score again? They are... Oh, no. They start later. Excuse me. It's 3-2 Boston and Milwaukee Dodgers. Milwaukee, LA starts later. They're down 2-1 in the series. I personally don't want to see the Astros-Dodgers again. It wasn't that great of a World Series with those two teams last year. I don't see it being much better this year. I would much rather see Milwaukee from the National League against either opponent. I just think they're playing better baseball. I think they're playing a similar style baseball to Houston and Boston, which will make for a better series. NBA kicks off tonight. I hope everybody's jazzed about that. Basketball is back. 76ers at Boston and the Thunder at Golden State tonight. Both games on TNT. Kicking off here in less than a half hour. Everybody else's games you will be kicking off throughout the weekend. And what can you say? The games are back. If you're into fantasy basketball is back. I joined Kyle Berry's fantasy league. He works for Mile High Sports, a radio station here, and 104.3 The Fan, a radio station here in Denver. Cool guy. I'm sure at some point we're going to get to meet and hang out. I'll have him on the show at some point throughout the season. And he kind of got me a little bit during the draft. It was LeBron James was up. It was a auction format draft. LeBron James was up. He had been nominated, and Kyle had pushed, bid on him. It was $127 out of a $200 budget, and not real money, mind you. This is fantasy money. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try and see if I can't get somebody to spend some money on LeBron. Because I was willing to have LeBron, but at that price, with only $200 to do the whole team, I was like, I don't know. So when he clicked at 127, I clicked at 128, thinking somebody's going to come over the top. That didn't happen. I ended up with LeBron James. Not going to be mad about it. He spent just about as much, if not more, on Steph Curry. And I think I ended up with a pretty good squad. I think I'm going to do all right this fantasy season. I'm not going to break down the rosters or anything right now, but I do thank Kyle Berry for the invite to be part of the league. I hope he follows the show and listens to the show, and who knows, maybe one day I get to come over to the Fan or Mile High Sports and do some stuff on air with them. You know, it's all about networking. It's all about building relationships, and Kyle Berry to me comes across as good people. So I'm happy to be part of his fantasy league moving forward. One thing I do have to say, and I said this about KP's Showdown 3rd Annual Fantasy Football Draft, I cannot stand the auto draft because of how much it changes things up. Now, with this format, this auction format, some of those auto drafters got bad players because the auto draft made them bid real high on whoever the top player was, and then they didn't have much money left to spend on utility guys and bench players and things like that. So you kind of get around to some of the ways it screws up a draft by just auto drafting. I don't know a way around it. There should be a league that says you can't auto draft, and if you're joining this league, you need to not auto draft or you will forfeit the season. I don't know. I can't stand auto drafting when you sign up for a league, especially this kind where it's an auction format and you need to be participating. It screwed up the football draft. To me, it screwed up the basketball draft. But whatever. I'm glad to be a part of it. This is going to be the first time I've done fantasy basketball in probably over 10 years. To be honest, I was in long time ago back in college. Last thing I want to get to tonight is the NHL has been back. We have not gotten to the NHL very much, so let's go through the standings real quick as we stand right now. On the Eastern Conference Atlantic Division, the Toronto Maple Leafs have 12 points already early in the season with a record of 6-1. Behind them is Boston at 4-1 with 8 points. The Metropolitan Division, Carolina Hurricanes lead that one with 9 points at a record of 4-1-1. And the New Jersey Devils are right behind them, as well as the Blue Jackets at 6 points. In the Western Conference Central Division, Nashville Predators already at 10 points at a record of 5-1. And the Chicago Blackhawks at 8 points at a record of 3-0-2. Local Avalanche right behind them with 7 points on the season. And remember, this is a team full of young players that highly touted team. If you remember, we had Bernie Nichols on the show. He loves the youth here in Colorado. Thinks they're a great, promising future. We'll see how they go throughout the season, sitting in third right now in the division. Early in the season. And then in the Pacific Division, you have the Anaheim Ducks with 9 points and a 4-1-1 record, with the Flames and Canucks right behind them with 6 points. Basketball's back. Hockey's back. We're going to continue to talk football. At some point, hopefully we can be less divided, less critical, start pointing out everything great that's going on. But until next time, you know how we do. Just be real.
Yeah, they say that talk is cheap, but not with me. If you want it first, it'll cost a fee. I put them C's in the hearse the way that I torture beats. My vocal cords producing the force to lift you up off your feet. I'm off the leash when I sink my teeth in them seas to eat. At night I stalk the streets, and the day I lay in the coffin sleep. I'm death walking on 2 feet, make it hard to sleep. The rhythm that need an exorcism, the way I haunt the beat. You know we starving, these rap artists is ours to eat. And when you carve the meat, make sure you serve me the largest piece.
Fuck peace, I ain't stopping till they all deceased. Ravaged through the underground scene like a savage beast. Nightmare on Elm Street, damn it's been a wild day. Grown man business, you can miss us with the child's play. No time to waste, so I go ahead and make it fast. Covered up my face, blood dripping off the Jason mask. Microphone audio's the Twilight Zone. The Alfred Hitchcock, it is murder mystery hip-hop. Chainsaw massacre rappers make it seem effortless. Take all their possessions in seconds, call me the exorcist. Resurrect your soul from the dead, something like Lazarus. Crucify your flesh to a cross, Jesus in Nazareth. Half of these whack rap cats can never spit with me. Craft a paragraph, cause it paranormal activity. Damien had an omen for dancing around with the devil. Rise from the ash like the phoenix and never settle.
Yeah, rest in peace to all the beats that we left to cease. Rest in peace to feeble MCs for leaving them 6 feet. Your dance moves and your weak rhyming is lunacy. Rest in peace to all that buffoonery, this the eulogy. Rest in peace to all the beats that we left to cease. Rest in peace to feeble MCs for leaving them 6 feet. Your dance moves and your weak rhyming is lunacy. Rest in peace to all that buffoonery, this the eulogy.
You see that you and me, so I guess this is the eulogy.
Does the power come from? The living among the dead.